Zenscape.
Zenscape. Hey guys, welcome to Zenscape. My name is Sean, and today, as part of our Women in Aquascaping series, we're going to be talking to Sabrina about her aquascaping journey and also geek out over her scapes and livestock. Yeah? So Sabrina, thank you so much for
Hi, Sean.
thank you for making this time. And I guess we'll start off with the first question, which is when and how did you get into aquascaping?
Okay, so for me, I've been keeping fish for quite a long time. I'll give it like maybe 15 to 20 years. So I actually first started having fish tanks when I was in primary school. And this is not really like, the tank that you just throw a bunch of longkang fish in. My parents were like,
Right.
if you want a fish tank, you're going to go to the library, read all these books, and you're going to tell us what you need to set up the tank. We'll help you, because you can't carry stuff, fine, we'll help you. But the fish are your pets, not something that we are going to look after.
Right.
So for me, I'm quite thankful that they let me have my first fish tank. And
Nice.
it's kind of been a hobby that's been a presence in my life since then. Yeah, I took small breaks here and there, especially like, during university when you're like too busy.
Yeah, no time.
So I would say when my serious like foray back into aquascaping was after I graduated from university, because I
Right.
had the means to do so. And since now that I just moved into my new place, I decided to just go all out and get the tank of my dreams, basically.
Nice. So this tank that we're looking at actually is new.
It's quite
relatively
new. Yeah, it's relatively new. So it's
I
been
see.
running since about maybe I would say comfortably
Couple months.
couple months, maybe late October, early November till now. So
Yeah.
it's kind of still in its fledgling state, still going through some of the new tank syndrome issues.
I see,
Yeah.
I see. Nice.
Yep.
And when you started, or I mean over the past few years, were there any influences you had, people or online resources that you felt really...
So
yeah.
for me, I would say one of my massive inspirations, and not to sound cliche, is actually what you'd see in nature. Like for me,
Totally.
my background is actually, I did life sciences, so I have a bit of a biology background. A
Right.
lot of what influenced my scaping style is literally, how do I make this look like something that you would
Yeah.
see in the Amazon jungle or
Right.
maybe in a Southeast Asian stream. So a lot of the things that I like to do is go to those, I can't name a specific YouTuber, but those YouTube channels that do in situ filming. So they
Okay.
film like underwater at like the
Right.
Pantanal river system or like a stream in Taiwan, that sort of thing. So that's actually a very big inspiration for me. And I think that has been the one thing that has really influenced me compared to like influencers and other scapers, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing is that since I keep plants, I wanted to kind of maximize the space that I use. So I've always known I wanted a paludarium, so I could both keep my fish and keep my plants at the same time.
Got it. And given that in the past few decades, I mean the influence of the nature aquarium
yeah.
has been quite strong in the scene with Takashi Amano
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Do you feel like what they've done or their work or the way they've approached things has also influenced you in any way?
I feel like I do refer to their media, like AD is such a popular brand,
Yeah.
so it's
everywhere.
It's
right?
everywhere. It's really
Yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah.
So the one thing I do regret is that when I was in Japan, I didn't visit their
Oh, right.
their gallery.
Okay.
So one thing that did influence me is that I like how back then when I maybe like give it maybe like 20 in the earlier part of the 2000s, Dutch style scapes were still very much the mainstay.
Yeah.
And then you started getting your nature style with Takashi Amano's influence, and that's kind of like allowed people to also have a stepping stone to have tanks that are more naturalistic like this. So I would say that though I'm not directly influenced, I really appreciate that
Yeah.
now we can have scapes like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also I guess with the competitions like the IAPLC,
Yeah.
you have a criteria of what makes a tank look good. You don't have to follow it, but it's a good guideline no matter what. Yeah.
And a lot of the principles were drawn from what these like old masters
Yeah,
were
like
implementing,
your
right?
your paintings and all that, like your
Yeah.
classical art.
That's
so
true.
it's a lot of the same
Principles.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. So what is it about aquascaping or even fish keeping or plant keeping? Like what keeps you going? What do you feel like is your greatest joy in this hobby?
So my greatest joy in the hobby is actually, to be honest, I would say that I'm still very much a fish keeper. That's
Okay.
my main joy. I just happen to keep plants with them, so that's where the aquascaping comes in. The biggest joy in the hobby now is actually when my fish start doing well and they start breeding. I'm not very good at breeding fish yet, so it's something that I'm learning more about. But to see a fish from being like very, very scared and like hiding all the time to be more comfortable in your presence, that's a very rewarding thing for me. And now since COVID is kind of like dying down and then borders are reopening, all your rare fish are starting to appear again. And that's really fun because then you get to buy rare fish. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's my
that's your
joy.
Your greatest joy.
I like the fish. Yeah.
I understand.
And of course, it's nice when my plants are doing well.
Yes,
but
yes,
there are
for
certain
sure.
things like blackbeard algae in a tank like Corydarium style like this.
Oh, yes.
Personally, I just close one eye because it is what it is. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Wow. So what has been your greatest challenge when it comes to the entire hobby?
Okay, so the entire hobby, I think for me, there's one part of the challenge is that for me, only very recently have I really made friends in the hobby. I've actually been quite a lone fish keeper for a very long time, partly because I would say it's very male dominated. So sometimes you feel like you don't really have a place to, like a safe space to call your own.
Understand.
So I started posting on Instagram, so I've met people that way, as well as like Telegram chats and all that. I've made a small group of friends. So before that, it was really like just being like, sometimes when you're totally alone, like you need to throw your fish somewhere, like, hey, something's wrong with my tank, what do I do? You just have to become very self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So that was one of my biggest challenges. And I think the second biggest challenges is that there's always going to be some uncle out there who thinks that you don't know how to keep fish just because you're a girl. Yeah, I would say that's a very big thing. For me especially, I did work in the aquarium industry for a little while. So I've had like the first-hand experiences of that, and I think it's always a learning experience because you also learn that maybe sometimes it's not, it's just they grew up in a different world, so it's a very different thing. And sometimes you just have to be a bit more understanding about it. But to me, I think those are the two major challenges for me thus far. Yeah.
Do you think that this situation with the whole women, not that many women being in the industry, is that changing? Has that been changing?
I think it's been improving. So now you have a lot more people, a lot more women and girls. Like for example, you see like you go to your famous like Clementi 328. You see a lot more women buying fish tanks, not like accompanying their boyfriends or accompanying their partners, but
for their
literally for their own
themselves.
enjoyment. And I think that's actually a good thing because it's a hobby where I don't think gender really does play a role in it. It's something that can be enjoyed by everybody.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. And I think it's so refreshing to find someone like you who is into the hobby. And yeah, I guess it's unfortunate that you've encountered the challenges you've had, but I'm glad it's getting better.
Yeah, I think it's getting better, yeah.
That's great, yeah. And I guess maybe we can talk a little bit about your scape. Let's start with this one first.
Sure.
Maybe just give us an overview.
Overview. So tank specs, this is a 4 foot, so 120. The front pane, I'll have to check the measurements. I think it's 40 cm and the depth is 45. Cool. Okay, so I got
we'll put the specs here later.
We'll put the specs on this somewhere here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's 100% custom made, and the scape was done by on my own. I mean, my husband did help me a bit here and there, just for the stuff that like, oh, can you help me just hold this piece of wood? But I would say it was something it's a labor of love that I did lah. So most of it is actually Malayan black driftwood, which I wanted to use for the one is structurally very sound. Two, it has the more wild look that I was looking for. Yeah.
And do you have to source these from
I
specific
sourced them
places,
for quite a few different places. So I went around to different fish shops, farms, friends who I knew had this type of wood. I was like, hey, do you want me sell some to me, Ken? Right. So it was, the wood sourcing took about a week. Like quite long.
I was actually just
looking for the right pieces.
Yeah.
And I still have like pieces that didn't quite work. I still have them like stored up in my storeroom that I need to do something with. So for the wood, I wanted a very like scape that where if you look at the top part, it will look complete. If you look at the bottom part, it will also look complete. But when you look at it as a whole,
it also looks
more than some of its parts. That's kind of like what I wanted to do. I also wanted it to be because a lot of people think about like competition scapes as scapes that must be like instant and like it must look very good. I wanted this to be one of those scapes that I could enjoy for years. So a lot of the plants is like it's a constant process of planting. I haven't finished. Like
Right.
I'll be adjusting things here and there. I wanted it to have basically be able to live here, the scape to have a place in my home for as long as I'm here.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of like ethos when it comes to scaping, sustainability.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, for the plants and livestock, this tank does have CO2, but I'm using a very, very low dosage of CO2 to just maintain the plants rather than encourage very rapid growth. And there's also a bit of a black water tank situation, so there's a lot of natural detritus that is happening at all the time, like all the leaves rotting down, and I do put catapang leaves, so there's some scattered.
I'm sure the tannins from
the
wood
tannins from the wood. The wood is still the main source of the tannins actually. The catapang leaf just kind of helps it, but even without, there's still a lot of tannins. So for the livestock wise, it's actually quite heavily stocked, but all the fish are hiding right now because I think they're a bit scared that we are here.
That's fine.
So all the livestock I'm keeping are mostly South American, with some Southeast Asian species because those also do well in black water. I think the livestock I've chosen basically also influenced other parts of the scape because I didn't want any very jagged rocks or all that because I wanted them to be able to graze on the biofilm that forms on the rocks, and you rarely see like very jagged rocks in nature. You see them like pebbles, river pebbles and all that. So the rocks are sourced from locally, and I also imported some from China because Taobao actually. I just went on Taobao, I shopped for rocks because I wanted a very specific tone and look for this tank.
Nice. I like that you kind of melded a few different approaches together. Like there's a vibe of hill stream, but there's also a bit of like a nature thing. Almost in some ways an island theme kind of thing as well. And of course the cosmetic sand.
So the sand itself, actually people are quite curious about what sand I'm using because they say, oh, I've never seen this sand in the market. So it's actually a mix of two sands that I would say very few people use because they're scared of the color. It's actually JBL Sunset, JBL Orange, which is a very bright orange when it's in the packet, and ANS Sunset Yellow, which is also a very shocking yellow when it's in the packet. But once put in a black water setting, it tones down a lot.
Yeah, it does.
So it looks gives a very
neutral,
warm golden sort of hue, which is something I wanted. I wanted the tank to look very warm.
Understand. And you use I see a lot of epiphyte plants, but a mix, like I suppose. But,
so it's
tell us a bit about
low
the
tech
plants.
So this is a Lagenandra, I think. So it's semi-epiphytic. So it does well. It's kind of like a crypt. So you can put it in inert substrate, or you can put it on a piece of wood. But this one's actually it's actually rooted into the substrate. I know. Sorry, there's like aquasol everywhere because it's impossible. The Corydarium will dig everything up. Then this is I think this is a spatifilum. I can't remember why it was. I got it from Rainbow. It's gone through a little bit because previously I kept it in my Pleco tank and it got eaten. It's coming back, but not in super great condition. And the rest are easy plants like some of my Cryptocorines, and then the Hygrophila pinintafida, which is also another very versatile plant.
Hastifolia, is that?
Anubias hastifolia. It's actually very lightly buried into the substrate with the rhizome exposed. So it's growing as a non-epiphyte, it's growing as a rooted plant. But it's doing quite well. So this is, there's still quite, like I said, it's still quite a new tank. So I'm still going through some diatom issues and all that.
Got it.
But some of the new foliage you can see behind, it's given me two totally new perfect leaves already. So it's doing okay.
Yeah, it looks like it's going well.
And then this is a Echinodorus A-flame. One of my friends was decomming his tank, so he gave it to me. But it was grown in very high CO2, so now it's going through a rough patch as well, having to deal with less.
Therefore the diatoms and Got it. Wow, and let's talk about the substrate. You mentioned, of course, the cosmetic sand, the mix of the two. And underneath, I suppose it's aquasoil.
Okay, so underneath it's not really aquasoil. The aquasoil is actually from the hidden compartments behind here, where I need to plant my land plants.
Got it.
That the fish somehow get into and
dig out the soil.
So the nutrient for this is actually a layer of nutrient capsules, the tropical nutrient capsules that I've spread out throughout the tank where there's heavier planting.
Okay, got it.
So it's also supplemented with liquid food.
Okay, so it's almost exclusively the cosmetic sand.
99% cosmetic sand.
I see.
So land plant wise, I am obsessed with bromeliads. Like they are my hands down.
These guys right there.
Yeah, these guys. So
Yeah.
you have this should be a Neuroregelia shell dance, which is a cultivated variety. This one is not. This one is a wild type. I'll get the name later because I also forgot. It's a very long name. So this is a dwarf Neuroregelia. It grows in clusters and stays very small. This one also is the same one, but this one is a bit light stress because it's very close to my light. So this is the more natural growth. This one I have to consider whether I want to remove it.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is another mini Neuroregelia hybrid. So Neuroregelias are when you think of bromeliads, you probably think of them because they're the ones you see in gardens by the bay.
Yeah. Very iconic.
Very iconic. Yeah. So a lot of them around. This is this should be an ichnia. It's a bit spiky, so I have to put him in the corner.
Yeah.
Because if not, injuries.
Yes.
So this one is a bit not so, I would say more subtropical or more desert. So it doesn't need as much water.
Got it.
So my misting system is actually more catered towards all these, as well as the carnivorous plants, which I'm still trying out whether they'll do well inside here. This one seems to be doing okay. This one
on the fence.
on the fence, yeah, I'm a bit on the fence for this one. Other than that, there's also this is a variegated peacock moss.
Oh, it's really nice.
It's very it's very light stress, so it's very pink. If not, it'll be a bluish color.
Got
So
it.
I'm also trying to move it around. Yeah.
And what are these ones with the little leaves here?
So this is Pilea glaucophylla. It's a semi-succulent plant, but likes wet conditions. So this one, I had a lot more, but I actually had a small. So another interesting thing, because this is an open paludarium, and I actually keep my windows and all that open, I had a termite problem. So most people will be like, oh, I'm just going to redo the whole thing. For me, I decided, like I said, I wanted it to be a long-term thing. I did treat for termites.
Okay.
So some of my plants did die, but as you can see the termite damage, but there's no more termites.
Right.
Yeah, I used a solution that was safe for fish, but slightly risky to plants. Yeah, so it's something interesting that I think a lot of people might not even try. They'll just want to get rid of everything. So for me, I really wanted this scape to last. So I had a lot more of these fellas, but they didn't like the solution that I was using. So now it's like a few patches. It actually just, when in its prime, it was like covering most of it. So you can see some of them behind here as well. Yeah, and I have some ferns scattered throughout, but the ferns are also something I'm trying out because I haven't had very much success with ferns because the humidity is a little bit too low for them.
I see. Okay. And let's talk a bit about like roughly your maintenance. Like how does your maintenance go roughly?
Okay, so my maintenance for this tank is basically I do a water change every 7 to 10 days.
How many percent roughly? Or?
So my ideal would actually be 70%.
Okay.
But now because I've actually had a little bit of a scare with my water source here because I think the construction.
I see.
Yeah. So now I try to do a minimum of 40. If I think the water is okay on that day, or I test it first and all that, I would drop it all the way to 70 or 80. That's my preferred for this tank. I'm a very strong believer in big water changes because it's the best way to keep your nitrates in check, even with plants. Yeah.
That's true. So what kind of a system are you running?
Okay, so for
wise and all that?
So for this tank, I'm actually running a Oase Biomaster 850. So it's actually for 4 foot, I would say it's a little bit small, but once I calculated minus the wood capacity, it's just nice for this tank. Besides that, I'm also running an air pump. You can see the air pump over here. It's a high blow baby air pump that I'm using for extra oxygenation since most of my fish species are quite, I would say, sensitive in that sense to oxygen. For my CO2, I'm actually running, I have an aluminum CO2 canister with top mounted ANS regulator.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's running around 2 bubbles per second. So it's actually a very low dose for a big tank like this. Really just a maintenance dose.
Right.
Yeah.
And using a diffuser.
Yeah, using a in-tank diffuser. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Because I didn't see any bubbles, so
it's off. Yeah.
Okay.
It's off right now.
Right.
Yeah. It switches on around I switch it on in the evening because I'm scared the tank overheats. So I switch it on when the water's a little bit cooler and it runs until around midnight. Yeah.
Okay.
Then my lights start paring down. Yeah.
Got it. And what's the duration for your light now?
My light duration, that's a little bit difficult for me to. So the light duration is about 7 hours, but I have the supplement. This is off right now, but I have supplemental light for my land plants.
Got it.
That's on about 12 hours. So
nice.
Touch wood. Somehow I don't have that much algae yet for now, so it's going okay. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for letting us know about your tank and having us here today. It's such a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. So guys, that's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. If you like what you're seeing, please remember to like, share, subscribe. And if you have any questions or any other content you'd like to see, please let us know in the comments as well. Thank you guys.